Can we discuss this Tracy McGrady thing for a little bit?
What's there to discuss?
I think that it's being I think it's being taken out of context. And the reason why I'm saying that it's being taken out of context, because on one level, we can't act like this wasn't going on during that time. There was a conversation between Bryant and McGrady.
That's a fact.
That was 100% going on. We cannot
that's fact.
completely dissolve that. However, with Tracy McGrady saying that he would have done what Bryant did, well, I don't know if he would have done what Bryant did. Would they have won? Would that have
Chill? I don't think that's what he said though. Chill.
Yeah, he said he would have won a championship.
I think he would have won. I do think he would have won, but I think Shaq would have had to do more, because I don't think that Tracy McGrady during that run. I don't think he was.
In 2002.
I don't think he was as good as Bryant.
Why?
Well, even with Kobe, the reason they won is because the league cheated. So
here's the thing.
Good point, Mars.
I had a high school coach who once said that everything I need to know about you will be expressed to me by how you talk about winners. So how you talk about the team that won, how you talk about the player that won MVP, that's going to tell me everything about who you are in your DNA.
So what's to say about you when I won panelist MVP and you started yapping?
that I'm the biggest hater. So and I don't like you. So that's what I got to say about that. But what I'm saying is, the players who never got out of the first round or second round, whatever, and they be saying like, I would have won 5 if I was in the same situation as that dude. I'm sure if you ask Gilbert Arenas right now, he'd probably tell you, yeah, if I was in Kobe's position, I would have won those chips too. That's why you didn't win, because you don't have respect.
I don't think he'll probably.
He didn't have Shaq. He didn't have any teammates though, or the team. It's very relevant.
No, it's irrelevant. Let me tell you why. Because every single person who's ever won knows that what you win and how you win comes down to difficult conversations. It comes down to sacrifices. It comes down to locking in mentally. These games are not losing themselves or winning themselves based on how well you hit jump shots. It comes down to your leadership and how you force. You know what I mean? Like, listen to Rod Artest talk about Kobe Bryant and how he came up to him when he got here and he said, "Listen, like, we had Trevor Ariza. That was my dog. I'm not taking no nonsense from you while you're here." That's what leaders do. Leaders will confront you. You have
I don't understand what's that have to do with how does Tracy McGrady not show
because you're not a winner. That's why. So let me tell you, other than this bullshit award, you're not a winner.
I don't understand that context at all.
Yeah, of course you don't. I'm trying to put you on game.
It's a random. I'm saying it's a random shot because I've won at every level. But I'm saying that, like, I'm trying to understand why Tracy McGrady. What's wrong with Tracy McGrady saying that?
Tracy
like, if
McGrady
I had better
never made out of the
teammates?
first round. Let me tell you something. I don't know Tracy McGrady. I've never met Tracy McGrady.
Different levels of winning, though, Penn. Wait, Penn. That's
he
not
left
fair.
Toronto.
Penn,
he left Toronto, bro.
That's really what this is about.
I wasn't
Even
rapping when he left. I don't care.
Even still, Penn, there's different levels of leaders, not different levels of winning. I'm sorry, there's different levels of leaders. And guys lead in a different way. Just because you're more forceful, just because you're more in a guy's face, does not make you a better leader than somebody else. That doesn't mean that. So Bryant, on the fact that he confronted Metta World Peace to let him know that, listen, this is how we do things around here. I mean, Bill Laimbeer did the same thing with Mark Aguirre when Mark Aguirre showed up to the Detroit Pistons. Listen, we got a good situation going on. He did win. He did end up winning the championship. Right. I can definitely get with that. What I'm saying is with Tracy McGrady running with Shaquille O'Neal, to say that, yo, I would have won if I would have played with Shaquille O'Neal. 100%, because I'm looking at what Tracy McGrady produced. We're talking about a 7-time All-Pro. This guy wasn't a good player when he was playing during that time.
How do we know
elite.
that?
He was elite, and Shaq made guys a lot better. And I think that Tracy McGrady would have been better playing off of Shaq.
Why wouldn't he though? Like, he was an elite player.
Shaquille O'Neal wanted to play with Vince Carter. Confirm or deny?
Did he want to play? He did say that.
Yep, he wanted to play with Vince. When shit was going wrong with Kobe and Vince was coming up in the league, there was some talk that he's boys with Vince, and down in Orlando they be hanging out sometimes. So he wanted to play with Vince because it would have been an easier thing. But was Vince the dog that Kobe was? No. He wanted to play with him because it's a 25-point per game scorer and a 25-point per game scorer. But Vince Carter didn't win championships. I'm gonna tell you this. All I'm saying is I've listened to The Psychology of Winners a lot. It's an obsession of mine. I listen, and not all leaders are the same. Shea leads differently than Tim Duncan. Shaq leads differently than Kobe. But I'll tell you, the championship DNA is something you can spot from a mile away. There's a guy yesterday that was drafted for 39th, Elijah Martin, right? Florida Gators, right?
Sure.
Only player in NBA and NCAA history who made an NCAA finals Final Four with 2 different teams. That dude is a winner. You listen to him talk, it's like, yo, this dude is setting a tone in your practice.
Here's the difference, though, Penn. I can counter. I can counter that with guys who.
Hold on. That's probably not true because LJ Cryer did it.
Okay.
Who did?
LJ Cryer.
Who did he play with? Cryer. He went to Houston, didn't he?
Baylor too.
Yeah, he went to Baylor too. That's correct. Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah. So to whoever said that stat, that's probably not
right.
But
to Tracy McGrady's point, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Stay right there. But Penn,
when
Tracy McGrady says if he's put in a different situation, I've said this to you a bunch of different times. In the words of Mr. Bobby Jones, Bobby Bird, I'm sorry, man walked taller when he walked with James Brown. So Tracy McGrady would have been different playing with Shaquille O'Neal. His game would have been different. His attitude would have been different. There's things about him that would have came out that wouldn't have come out before. Pau Gasol is a prime example of that. Pau Gasol had that what you call dog in him. Bryant brought it out of him. And
wait a second, Show.
And he became a much better player.
Pau won a lot.
No. Hold on. No, you wait a second, because y'all are trying to pretend like Tracy McGrady was some pup that needed somebody to come in. Hey, Tracy, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. No, Tracy McGrady needed a team.
That's it. Because I was going to ask Ken, what team do you think he's supposed to win with?
So of course, you can say these things, but Tracy McGrady didn't come up here and say, "I could have done everything Kobe Bryant did."
He just said he would have won.
All he said is he wasn't trying to. I don't think he was so much downgrading Kobe as much as saying,
he wasn't.
If I had a team like Kobe had, I probably could have got a ring too. So I think what he was trying to say is, but does getting a ring change how good you were at basketball? Hold on, Penn.
My bad.
In some instances, yes, there are players that willed their team to a championship. You can see where this team was probably good enough, but this player took them over the top. In those instances, I think that's where it's like, well, he won a ring, but it was mostly on his back. He helped, a lot, like, there's examples, right? Well, Tracy McGrady never had that. And I think we can all acknowledge that the time he did have a good team that was of that caliber, Yao Ming couldn't stay healthy for a week.
We can't leave him out.
Neither one of them can stay healthy at the same time.
Right. And so that's there's that. So
it doesn't.
TMac, Tracy McGrady at this time, Penn, and you're of the age to where you know this. In 2000, from of those 3-peat years when Kobe and Shaq was winning those rings, Tracy McGrady and Kobe Bryant were right here, eye to eye, looking at each other. Tracy
might have been better. Tracy might have been better.
Thank you. See,
that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing as being a winner. And what I'll say is, you never made it out of the first round. And I'm gonna say this: when you were injured and you weren't playing, your team made it out of the first round without you. What does that say about you? You played with Vince Carter. You played with Grant Hill.
That says that team right there was probably a team that was good enough to where if he was healthy, they could have made a run.
Indictments on players as winners and losers because the situations around them just seems very fortunate.
Hold on, Swiper, because I hate when people bring this up, because I was the biggest Rockets fan ever, and I'm still am. But at that time, I was the biggest Rockets fan ever. I never missed a game, brother. That team with Ron Artest and Yao Ming and all of those guys, when they went to Game 7 with the Lakers, that was a really damn good team. You don't understand. TMac was hurt all year long, pretty much though. Like, he was hurt all year long. They tried to, put it together. When you say, oh, they went without him, they were supposed to go to the playoffs. With him, they would have probably, I don't know if they would have beat the Lakers, but it could have been a different series. Like, that would have been a great team. Like, I don't get why y'all trying to indict Tracy McGrady for. I get it, he didn't get out the first round, but if you look at his team, do you know who Scott Padgett is? You know who that is?
You can't also leave out. But
he fucking started. Like, it's no way you telling me he's supposed to start.
He was on some good teams. He was on some good teams, like you talked about. Yao breaking down. T-Mac broke down too.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not indicting him as a winner, though. He got hurt.
Like you got to understand. Like, I'll watch.
That doesn't matter, though, Swiper. Like you
as a winner. Wait, how does my body breaking down make me not a winner, though? Like, I can't.
That's because I'm able to overcome that.
Hang on.
Overcome what? Chronic leg injuries?
We've seen guys overcome leg injury.
No, but chronic. T-Mac had chronic knee
Kawhi Leonard has a condition.
Kawhi Leonard ain't won nothing. He hasn't won anything.
After 19 about that.
And y'all dog Kawhi too. So
I would understand. I would understand if y'all you're gonna say T-Mac scored 13 points in a game when he was playing. I watched him give the Mavericks 40 balls. I watched him do that. I watched him give the Trailblazers crazy work. I watched him do what he's supposed to do.
Did you watch him
So for
shoot
y'all to say
7 for 24 in a closeout game against the Detroit Pistons when he was in his prime at 23 years old? Granted, did you watch that game? Do you remember that game?
You're not in your prime at 23.
That was his prime.
Yeah,
SGA shot 8 of 27 in the game 7 and they won by 15 points.
T-Mac was in.
I don't understand. Wait, so if winning and losing is
I don't think he was in his prime at 23.
winning and losing is the difference.
You know, 03 is absolutely T-Mac's prime. 03 is
I don't think so. I think it's probably his.
What do you think
said that he shot 7 of 23 to close the series out?
He was in conversation.
Shea just shot 8 of 27 to close the series out, and they won. So what you're saying is, in one situation, because they lost, that makes him a loser. But another situation, if they won, that makes him a winner.
Let me tell you something about winning, Swiper. Number one,
why do you keep addressing me like this?
I'm addressing you like this because I'm the most obnoxious, and I'm living up to the I'm living up to the damn title.
Like you never won when you have no idea who I am. I think that's another falsehood you're putting out there. I've won plenty. My whole thing
called
is,
me Smeagol. You don't know me from Adam, bro. You know what?
Anyway.
Hold on.
Tracy McGrady in his prime, chill, was one of the best players in the sport. We agree.
Easy.
I think if he would have had a different player in that prime, a Shaq, which is the best player in the world, that would have helped him and assisted him to either get to the conference finals or get to the finals. Because chill, we talked about this before. When Kobe first started, he wasn't great in the first run they had in the playoffs, and he wasn't great in the first finals. He wasn't. Objectively, he was not.
Go ahead in the finals.
So what I'm saying what I'm saying is Tracy McGrady would have benefited. Do you agree? Do you agree, Chill? From having the best player in the world on his team, that over a 3 or 4 year run, he possibly could have won. He possibly could have won a title. Chill.
I think
possibly could have won. That's all he said. That's literally all he said.
Swiper. I got a question for you, and you too.
Hold on. Let you answer that question real quick.
To answer your question, Swiper. Yes, I do think that during that time, what Shaq was to the NBA and what Tracy McGrady was, and the level that he was playing at, there's no reason for me to think that they could not have won it. There's no reason.
That's all he said.
That's all he said.
And that's a fair statement. However, the idea of him not having the team, okay, you breaking down was part of that. You breaking down,
but he never had Shaq though.
Okay, he didn't. Never had Shaquille O'Neal. Never had that level of player, right? But with him not having that level of player, he was the number one guy that they were building the unit around, and he was the guy who broke down.
What about when he didn't break down and Yao broke down? What about when he didn't break down and Yao broke down?
But he did break down in Houston. He broke down in 2006.
Okay, but what about when he was healthy and Yao wasn't there?
But here's the difference. The difference is when Yao was there and he wasn't there. I mean, I think that they lost in the first round and they won 22 out of 23 games.
No, he was there for that. He was there for that.
Chill. And Yao ended up missing. I think Yao ended up missing the playoffs. Yeah.
But hold on, because I got a question. Okay, because in 03, I know around 08, 07, 06, that's when the TMac and Kobe comparisons was prominent.
No,
mind you, in Jordan, to your point, TMac
maybe in Houston, maybe no.
TMac played 70. TMac played 79 games in 2000, 77 and 1, 76 and 2, and 74 in 2003, and then played 67 and 78. So there was basically a 6 to 7 year run where he was playing damn near 80 games a season.
Yes, but I was talking about when we talk about the prime. When we was talking about, I think you might say that's his best offensive season in 2003. But for me, at 23 years old, I don't think no players in their prime at 23 years old. But when I seen T-Mac game, for me, mature, like when it was like, all right, this is the comparison you was hearing with Kobe was when he was with the Rockets. I for sure know that
it was with Orlando. It was with Orlando.
Yeah, I just.
But you talking about 03. But you talking about 03. That wasn't the conversation. No, the Kobe talks was when he was in Houston in 07. Yes, it was. It was
not
in
for
Houston.
Me. I'm just saying I don't. I don't
talking about in general. It was in Houston in 07, 06, 07, 08. Those were the Kobe talks.
I feel like that's what the conversation was in Houston.
Kobe wasn't the best in the league in 03.
I feel like that's what was going on in
Jordan. What's there to be happy about? Yo.
Was Kobe the best in the league? Was it 03?
Yo, Jordan.
That's
But
not
they weren't having best in the world. It was the best two guys.
No, it was just him and
No,
Bryant. No.
But, yes. So why?
Shaq-
Okay,
it was
they
Shaq
wasn't
Shaq was still the
comparing-
best player in the game. Duncan was still the best player in the game.
Okay,
We weren't talking
listen to
about
what
that.
y'all saying. When we were talking about T-Mac being compared to Kobe, Kobe
Sure.
wasn't the best in the league in 03.
But no, they're not. He's not.
No
They're
one's
not. No one's
saying-
saying
no
We're
one's
that.
not
saying-
saying that though, Jordan.
They're just
That's not the-
comparing
that's
them as
not the
players.
conversation.
Period.
We're just talking about both Bryant.
But what
and
I'm
T-Mac.
saying is that Bryant and T-Mac, the comparison for Bryant and T-Mac was when Kobe was at his best. That's what the comparison was.
No.
So it wasn't in 03. It was
It
in
was,
07.
though. I mean, Jordan,
No,
I'm-
it was not.
But that's where T-Mac's comments came from in the first place. That if you would have replaced him with Kobe, he's saying he would have won one over that stress the same way Kobe did.
Yeah.
So
Jordan, I think Jordan.
Not Houston Tracy McGrady.
Wait. Let me
That's
real quick.
Tracy McGrady.
Let's just clear this up real quick because Jordan,
Yeah.
I think both of these things are kind of true but kind of crossing paths though, Jordan. So T-Mac was specifically talking about that version though, like the younger Kobe when he was with Shaq and him. But
Correct.
to your point, I think at that younger age, which Penn even said, I think younger at that point, I think some people, myself included, had T-Mac over Kobe.
They
But
did.
by the time when you're talking about, I think Kobe had caught and passed T-Mac though. You know what I'm saying?
Which is
At that
fine,
point.
but I'm saying
You know
that
what I
still was that still was a more relevant comparison because in 03, you looking at Kobe was still great. Kobe was still a great player in 03, but he wasn't best in the league in 03. I'm saying
he
when
was in that conversation.
But,
Yes, he
but what
was.
I'm
T-Mac
saying,
wasn't in that
hold
talk in
on,
2007,
but what I'm saying is in 07, when by that time people are saying Kobe Bryant is the best player in the NBA, 07, 08, around that time.
He was better than T-Mac at this time.
Yes, he was, but T-Mac was in that conversation too, though.
For a best
I know
player in
that
the
for a
world?
fact.
He was still respected as a great basketball player. Yes, I think so as well. I didn't have him in best in the world talks
Not in
anymore.
07,
But
not in
T-Mac
08.
was
Was he top
still
five?
dangerous.
He was top five,
still
right?
a great player.
He was a top five player, right?
I saw a different.
In 2007?
In 07, he was top
07?
10. He was top 10 in 07.
Yeah, I think top five.
I think
I
03.
think top five. I think they
think-
was comparing him and Kobe in 07.
I think in 03, if I remember correctly, and I was, a teenager, and I was very invested in the story of T-Mac and all that stuff because, he was a homegrown legend for us in Toronto. We were watching him, blow up in Orlando. There were some real conversations that he was better than Kobe Bryant. Yes, there were. And everyone was saying that, whoa, if he had Shaq, this. Well, I'll say one thing. I've been trying to get this off for 5 minutes. What y'all so happy about? Job finished? Job not finished? That's the point. Kobe Bryant would never, ever call a series over when he got a 3-1 lead. Wouldn't do it. Just wouldn't do it. Never saw it happen. Because he would lock his team in. He would lock his team in. So you blow a 3-1 lead, partially because you sitting on a press conference saying it's great to get out of this round. The Detroit Pistons put that shit up on their board, and then you shoot 7 for 24 in a game 7. I'm sorry. That is your best season. Go ahead.
Yes, Miles. Really quickly, Miles. Stay right where you are, Miles. So, number one, to Jordan, to your point, in 2000, from 2001 to 2003, Shaq had stamped Bryant as the best player in the game. And when Shaq has said something, it held weight. Now, Tracy McGrady is now leading the league in scoring. With Tracy McGrady leading the league in scoring and is one of the better perimeter players in the game, he's now getting compared to Bryant as one of the best players in the game.
Right.
So
I'm not disagreeing with that.
These two guys are looking at each other. When we get to 06, 07, I'm going to run down some names for you guys. And Mars, please stay where you are and keep that thought. I want you to stay there. Bryant, yes or no?
What were we saying yes or no to?
Is he better?
Then who?
T-Mac?
Bryant is better than Tracy McGrady. Chris Paul.
No.
Garnett.
Yes.
James.
Maybe.
Yes.
Dwight Howard.
In what year?
What year?
What year was LeBron better than T-Mac?
Never.
In 03?
This is the 07-08 season.
Oh, my bad. I was ranking careers. My bad.
Season, right? This is the 07-08 season.
No, LeBron was better than him at that time.
Dwight Howard.
LeBron James in 2008 wasn't better than T-Mac, Jordan.
T-Mac used to give it to Bron.
Exactly. Like y'all don't understand.
I don't
like,
care.
LeBron was way better.
No, he was not.
The point that I'm
that's fine.
Defense don't matter.
The point that I'm making.
T-Mac was a good defender too, though.
Dirk.
He wasn't LeBron James in 2008.
What about Dirk?
Respect better. No way.
Dirk's better.
Okay, that's fine.
Was Steve Nash better?
No.
It's hard to have this conversation because injuries derailed a lot of T-Mac time when he was in Houston. So it's hard to have it, but
go ahead, Mars, because you did have a comment. Then we got to get to the rest of Super Chats.
I brought up that point to say that when Bryant was playing with Shaq during that time, he was in that conversation because Shaq stamped it. Shaq saying in 2001 when they were playing against the Sacramento Kings, I think he's the best player in the league by far. Shaq said that. He said that in 2002.
He was playing with T-Mac too.
I don't ever remember Shaq saying Tracy McGrady was the best.
I don't ever remember Shaq being on T-Mac's team. You know what I'm saying? Like to Penn, like what Penn said about if he would have never said that, T-Mac would it wouldn't have mattered what T-Mac said if he was playing with Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah,
like it don't matter if I said that or not. No matter what I said, you know what I mean? Shit don't matter.
Here's the thing. Like I think, Chill.
You
would know this better than everyone.
Mars had a point.
Here.
Mars did have a point.
Go ahead. Sorry, Mars.
Yeah, it's less of a point. This is more of a question. And before anyone I'm not defending this. I'm just asking, is this a plausible theory? In 2003, when Orlando blew the 3-1 leads to Detroit, that was the first year that the league adopted the 7-game first-round format.
Oh, okay.
Is it possible that T-Mac genuinely forgot that you had to win 4 games?
You probably right.
I want to make it clear.
Right,
I'm not defending if that is what happened. I'm just saying, is it possible that T-Mac genuinely
that would be a good question.
Winning 3 games.
No, that would be a good question to ask.
That's an even bigger indictment if he didn't know how many games he played.
I'm not saying it's not. I agree. I think not knowing how many games you have to win is worse. I'm just asking, is it possible that that's what's happening?
That's possible, Marv. I think it's possible.
It's not possible. I remember the press conference. He was talking about one more game, but he said it'll feel good to finally get out of the playoff, get out of the first round.
But that wasn't me defending anything that happened. I just want to make that clear.
This is what I say. Like, Swiper brought up like Shea struggling in the finals or whatever. But the thing with Shea is whether they were down 2-1 in a series, he never changed his demeanor. If they were up 2-1 in a series, he never said, "Oh, I guess we're gonna win this one." He knew the value of locking in. Now, obviously, I want to say this. These young kids sometimes go to a situation where you don't know how to win. T-Mac came into a situation with Charles Oakley, who definitely knew how to win, came in with Kevin Willis, came in with a lot of vets. I think that Raptors team, Muggsy Bogues.
You are out of your mind if you think that team was supposed to win.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I said those veterans could have been a good influence on Vince and Tracy, and I think they were a good influence. If you go back and you look at D Brown, you look at the entire roster, Muggsy Bogues, those are solid vets. That's exactly what you want T-Mac and Vince to have, and I think they both went on to have good careers because they had really good vets when they were coming up, because Oakley was not letting them get with shit in practice. They were trying to be lazy. They're like, Jordan wouldn't do that. So that's what I'm saying. But when he went to Orlando, he was on a very young team, and I feel that sort of derailed his career a little bit because he didn't have those vets around. Mike Miller was the best player on his team, the second best player on his team for a while there. Grant Hill wasn't healthy. So, yeah, there's a little bit of what-ifism. If Grant Hill had been healthy, Grant Hill probably would be helpful to him. But he was there.
Had they got Tim Duncan, they probably would have won a championship.
And if Tim Duncan had gone, yes, because Tim was a winner. Tim brought winning everywhere.
Here's my pushback. Here's my counter.
How was Kobe a winner though without Shaq? Then, like, I don't.
Because I think but you need
both.
Where I'm going, because you're telling me that the job's not done with Bryant, right? You're telling me that the job's not done with Bryant, even though, he blew a 3-1 lead too. Don't leave that out.
Yes, he did.
He blew a 3-1 lead too, and just because he didn't say anything, that doesn't mean that just because he didn't say anything, that doesn't mean that it's less than what Tracy McGrady did. He was up 3-1 in the series and gave up the lead and ended up losing. That ended up happening. He had an opportunity to win the series. No doubt about that. With Tracy McGrady, on the other hand, I can appreciate your logic, Ox, that if he had Shaq, he would have won the NBA championship. Would he have been as good as Bryant during this time? And I'm adding this caveat. Would he have been as good as Bryant had he won multiple championships? Would we be talking about him differently? I think we'd be talking about him a little bit different because winning does separate. And if him and Bryant are like this during that time, if you add a championship, 2 championships to his resume on top of what he already did, Penn, don't forget, this dude made the All-Pro team 7 times in 10 years. Yep. He was an elite player.
If Kobe doesn't have Shaq those first 3 years, only went to 2 with Pau Gasol, we talk about Kobe differently, way differently.
I think Kobe, here's the thing. Tracy McGrady, talent, insane. I think he was one of the best passers I've ever seen at a 6'8" guy. Like, that was insane. His defensive tools, especially early in his career when he's really locked in defensively before he had to take that huge load, you could think, wow, maybe Scottie Pippen, like really could lock in. But the difference here is I think Kobe was a more consistent defender. I think Kobe made more of less. I think everything, when you look at Tracy McGrady, you look at Kobe Bryant. Tracy McGrady should
when they both had less. Kobe did the same shit.
He
T-Mac
missed the
did.
playoffs.
No,
and lost.
Yeah, they did.
because
He missed the playoffs and lost. That's actually what happened.
The 04 Magic just
you make championships, bro. I understand certain players have been cursed by NBA luck where they just end up in a bad situation. I get that, I do, but I think that if you listen to people talk about Kobe, people who actually play with him, who go on these podcasts, I love the fact that we get long form content of players, exposing the details of what went on in those practices. There ain't nobody telling you that this dude didn't set the standard of our practices.
But they still lost, though, Pin.
Yes, I understand.
They were not making the playoffs.
Championships. They won 5 championships, and as much as people want to downplay Kobe's role in that first championship and say Shaq was the best player, yeah. But here's the question I'll ask you, Cho, and I think this is a very important question: did Kobe make Shaq better?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
That's important.
T-Mac wouldn't have made Shaq better.
T-Mac would have made him better too, though.
No,
a perimeter guard makes a big better.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about off the court. I'm talking about the friction. I'm talking about the competition. I'm talking
T-Mac,
about
a good guy.
the intensity, bro. I'm telling you,
Shaq didn't listen to
Kobe.
Kobe. That's why him and Kobe had beef.
You know this. You know this. You play competitively. You know this, right? All y'all play competitive. You know this. When you go to practice and there's one dude who is just lock it up and he's showing up early and he is setting the standard and he is the alpha in your room and he's calling you out. If you don't rotate, he's calling you out. He's stopping practice to chew you out.
How do you know T-Mac don't do that?
But I did that all the time. We lost too. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not lying to you. I got everything early, Chill.
I can yell all I want.
Chill. I showed up to practice everything early. I was team captain. We lost.
Smoked. I want you to answer this question. What is T-Mac weakness to where you thinking this guy is that like
Jordan,
skill set?
we do have 48 super chats.
Yeah, we got unfortunately.
Yeah, we do. We have a few minutes.
Yeah, that's his weakness. That's what.
All right, wait, hold on. We got a $100 super chat from March.